sat quietly after that. She was hurt, yes, but her mind had moved past the other woman question. Something else was nagging her. If Chinedu had made this promise to Chioma's father 20 years back, why build the mansion now, all of a sudden? And more importantly, where exactly had the money for it come from? Chioma answered before she even asked. Your husband didn't suddenly grow a conscience, if that's what you're thinking. Then why? Because I found the original agreement. She explained that after her father passed, she spent years trying to understand why Chinedu had vanished from their lives. Eventually, she dug up the old papers. They showed her father had funded Chinedu's construction business at the very beginning, but there was a condition attached. Chinedu had promised that Chioma would receive a property once he made it big. Nneka's voice came out weak. So, he built this house for you? No, Chioma said. He built it because he knew I'd found the agreement. He begged me not to take him to court. Said the house would settle everything. Nneka closed her eyes. So Chinedu had known all along. He knew Chioma was coming for what was owed. He knew from day one that the mansion wouldn't stay in Nneka's hands. Yet he still brought her there, put the keys in her palm, and called it home. One question remained. How did he pay for it? Chioma looked at her carefully. I don't know. That answer put Nneka on alert. She went straight home, straight to Chinedu's study. This time not hunting for anything about Chioma, but for the bank records. After digging through files, she found what she was looking for. Payments made from their joint account. Large sums, one after another. She stared at the figures until her eyes blurred. Some of that money had come from her own savings. Money she thought was going into expanding their family business. Money she had denied herself many comforts to save. Her hands began to shake. Then, she found the transfer record tied to the property. She read it twice. Then a third time before her legs gave way and she sat down. Part of the money used to build that mansion had come from their family savings. Her savings. The very sacrifice she had made to help build the life they shared. Turned around and used to build a house her husband had secretly promised to another woman. Chinedu came home late that night and found Nneka sitting in the living room. The property document and bank statements spread out on the table in front of her. He stopped in the doorway. He knew immediately. Nneka. She raised a hand. Don't explain yet. Her voice was calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that scares a guilty man more than shouting ever could. She picked up one of the statements. You used our money to build a house you had already promised to another woman. It isn't like that, he said, looking down. She let out a short, painful laugh. Then tell me what it's like. For the first time in this whole saga, Chinedu stopped hiding. He sat and told her everything. Years back, when his business was on the verge of collapse, Chioma's father had stepped in, gave him money, helped him land his first big contract. Chinedu promised to pay him back. But once the money started rolling in, fear took over. He kept postponing, kept finding reasons to delay. Then, the old man died, and Chinedu convinced himself The promise had died along with him.
So when Chioma found the agreement, that's when you rushed to build the mansion? Nneka asked. He nodded slowly. I didn't know what else to do. Tears filled her eyes. You knew exactly what you were doing. He reached for her hand. She pulled away. You didn't just lie to Chioma, she said. You lied to me too. Then he said the words that broke something in her completely. I was afraid of losing everything. She stared at him. You were afraid of losing everything? She pointed toward the house around them. Chinedu, I stood by you when you had absolutely nothing. I struggled beside you. I gave my own money to keep your business alive. Her voice cracked. And you took that same money to quietly fix a problem you never once told me about. He lowered his head. She wiped her tears. The house isn't even what's killing me, she said. It's the 20 years of lies underneath it. The next morning, Nneka went to see Chioma again. Not in anger this time, but with one honest question. Why didn't you just expose him? Chioma looked down. Before my father died, he told me something. He said, don't destroy him. Just make him remember what he owes. Nneka said nothing. I never wanted your marriage, Chioma continued. I never wanted your husband. I only wanted him to keep his word. And in that moment, Nneka finally understood. Chioma had never been her enemy in this story. But her decision was already made. She wasn't going to fight another woman over bricks and cement. She wasn't going to beg a man to choose her. And she certainly wasn't going to spend whatever years she had left trying to patch up a marriage that had been built on secrets from the very foundation up. She would take what legally belonged to her and she would go. Chinedu begged her to stay. Nneka, please, we can fix this. She looked at him, steady. Maybe you can fix the business, but you cannot fix what you did to my trust. He stood there in silence as she walked to the door. Then she turned back one last time. Chioma didn't take this house from me. She looked him dead in the eye. You did. Months later, Nneka started a small property business with the money she legally walked away with from their separation. Not a mansion, not luxurious, but it was hers. Every brick of it, hers. She named it Nneka Homes. One afternoon, Chinedu happened to drive past one of her new properties. He stopped when he saw her name written boldly on the signboard. He got out and watched her from a distance, talking business with a customer, standing tall, like a woman who had rebuilt herself from scratch. And for the first time, really, truly, he saw the woman he had almost lost long before she actually walked out the door. He finally walked over. Nneka. She turned. He apologized, told her he had made a terrible mistake, asked if there was any chance, any small chance that they could start over. Nneka listened quietly. Then she smiled. Not the smile of a woman melting back into old love, but the smile of a woman who had finally made peace with everything that happened. I don't hate you, Chinedu, she said. Hope flickered in his eyes. Then she continued, "But forgiveness doesn't mean I have to go back to the very place where you broke my trust." His face fell. Nneka turned and walked back toward her new building. And this time, she didn't look back. Not even once. Sometimes, the woman you blame for wrecking your marriage isn't the one who actually betrayed you. Sometimes, the real betrayal is the secret your partner carried quietly while you were out there sacrificing everything to build a future you thought you both believed in. Nneka thought that mansion was proof that her husband had finally rewarded her for all her years of sacrifice. But in the end, she learned something far more important. A beautiful house cannot turn a dishonest marriage into a happy home. And sometimes, walking away from what you thought you wanted is the very first step toward building something that is truly, completely yours. Sometimes, walking away is how you finally find yourself. What would you have done if you were Nneka? Tell us in the comments. Subscribe to Tales by GVIP for more African stories.